first day of prison. FCI Loretto in Pennsylvania.
Central Pennsylvania, up in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. The judge ordered that I serve in a minimum security work camp. No bars on the windows. They don't lock the doors. You're free to just come and go as you please. You're on your honor not to abscond. And most of those guys work in town. There's a small university down there. You know, they do janitorial stuff, whatever. So it's weird. You know, on the day that you're supposed to surrender, you just drive up to the prison and knock on the door and say, I'm John Kiriakou, I'm here to turn myself in. And they're like, okay, come on in. So I go to the prison camp, and the guy says, oh, you got to go across the street to the prison, and then they process you, and then they bring you back here. I said, okay. So I go across the street. I said, I'm here to turn myself in. They put me through the metal detector and such. And then the cop starts to lead me around to the back of the actual prison. I said, no, I'm supposed to be at the camp across the street. He goes, not according to my paperwork, you're not. And I was like, oh my God, take it easy. There's nothing you can do. If you make a fuss, they're going to put you in solitary. So I didn't say a word. It took me 5 days to get access to a phone. And I called my attorney and I said, hey, they put me in the actual prison with the pedophiles and the mafia dons and the drug kingpins. What do I do? And he goes, oh my God. He says, well, we could make a motion, but it'll be 2 years before we get a hearing date and you'll be home by then. He said, I'm sorry, buddy. You're just going to have to tough it out. So I was like, okay, I'm trained for worse than this. I can do this. Just relax, stay calm. So on that very first day, they take your picture, they make a little badge for you, and then they give you like a bath towel, a face towel, a washcloth, a bar of soap, a little thing of shampoo, and a roll of toilet paper, and sheets, and you're walking, holding your stuff. The only thing this cop said to me was, if somebody comes into your cell uninvited, that's an act of aggression. I was like, great. I've been here 40 minutes, I'm gonna get my ass kicked now. So I thought, well, if I'm going down, it's gonna be in a blaze of glory. So I didn't know what to do, so I just sat there, a chair in the cell. And sure enough, these two guys walk right into my cell, both obviously Aryans. One had a swastika tattoo that took up the entire front half of his neck and face. It was enormous. The other one had "fuck you" tattooed on his eyelids. So every time he blinked, you know? So I jump up and I go, what do you want? Right? And one of them, the big one with the swastika, he's like, take it easy. He goes, are you the new guy? I go, yeah, so? He goes, are you a fag? I go, no, I'm not a fag. He goes, are you a rat? I go, no, I'm not a rat. I didn't have anybody else in my case. He says, are you a chomo? I go, I don't know what that word. He goes like I'm stupid. He goes, chomo, child molester. I go, no, I'm not a fucking child molester. He goes, okay, you can sit with the Aryans in the cafeteria. I go, oh, okay. So I guess I'm with the Aryans now. A couple of days later, this black guy walks in, and this guy is 220 pounds of rock solid knotted muscle. And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna last 5 seconds against this guy. So I jump up and, what do you want? And very gingerly, he hands me this newspaper, the Daily Call. It's the newspaper of the Nation of Islam. And I'm on the friggin' cover. And he says to me, Reverend Farrakhan says that you're a hero of the Muslim people. I go, oh, okay. And he said, I just want you to know you're not gonna have any trouble with us. I said, okay. And that was it. Turned around and walked out. Then I was in a 4-man cell, which was overcrowded with 6 men. Overcrowding in prison is a terrible problem. And 4 of the other 5 were members of Mexican cartel, MS-13. One of them was MS-13. The others were Mexican cartels. Mexican mafia, borrachos, I forget what the other ones were. But anyway, one of them said to me, are you educated? And I go, yeah. Can you write my appeal? I go, I'm not an attorney. You said you were educated. I go, well, I am. Well, I said, most lawyers are idiots anyway. I said, sure, I'll write your. How hard could it possibly be? He's guilty anyhow, right? So it took a couple weeks. I go through his case papers. I write an appeal. The appeal's denied. He said, what do I owe you? I said, nothing. I got people on the outside. They put money in my commissary account. But he told all the other Mexicans that I was a good guy because I wrote his appeal and I didn't charge him anything. So I didn't have any problems. And then I lived directly across the hall from the acting boss of the Bonanno crime family. And he and I just hit it off. I'd give him my New York Times. He'd give me his New York Post. We'd sit together in the TV room, watch the football games on Sundays. I like this guy a lot. And finally he says to me, let me ask you something. Why do you sit with those Nazi retards in the cafeteria? And I go, I don't know. My first day, they told me sit with them. He goes, from today, you're with the Italians. And so from then, Gambino, Bonanno, Lucchese, Genovese, they treated me very, very well. They had a guard, they had a crooked guard on the payroll who would bring in, oh my God, pork loin, fresh mozzarella, and tomatoes, and mushrooms, and white wine for the marsala sauce. I gained 35 pounds in prison. We ate like friggin' kings. And it was like everybody packed in the room. And these guards would come in like, what are you making today, Mark? And Mark would say, I got a little bit of this, I got a little bit of that, and give the guard a little bowl of pasta. 35 pounds. The warden said to me one day, you're putting on weight. I go, what are you, my warden or my doctor? I didn't say, one of your crooked guards is taking a payoff from the mob to bring us in fresh food. Do you think I'm going to eat this stuff? It all tastes like ass. So, no, they treated me very, very well.
Reminds me of Goodfellas when they're cooking dinner in prison, slicing the garlic nice and thin.
That's real life. You can smell it cooking from, 150 feet away. Yeah, that's real life. But it's only, I shouldn't say it's only the Italian. Well, the Italians have the food coming in from the outside. The Mexicans steal the food from the cafeteria. So they're able to make something that tastes way better than what the average prisoners get. But nobody's getting the Italian. No way. I remember saying one day, there was one guy in particular that was the cook. He was my best friend in prison. And he's still one of my best friends in life. And I said to him, I would pay $35 for this in a restaurant. You made it in a garbage can with a live electrical, right? What you do is you fill a garbage can with water halfway.